You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. How are you this morning? Kind of an in-between day here in East Greenbush, New York. As you know, we have the first and hopefully only live streaming webcast here in upstate New York. Great weekend here. We had a lot of fun. Let me start off first by, again, thanking any of the groups that I share this to and enjoy their collaboration with us and allowing us to continue to show the relevant parts of our show to them. So again, if I'm sharing this, there is relevant information. If you decide to deny it because it's not all football or baseball or whatever group it is, I understand. But I hope you'll let your listeners do it and you know, fast forward to the content that's important to them, because we'll get some good stuff going on. I want to thank my guest from Friday, Philip Bosch, the author of Dog Days, which is basically the story of the fall from glory of the 1964-65 Yankees to their rebirth in 1976. We had a great conversation. We talked a little bit about today's baseball, too. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. So thanks to Philip. If you haven't watched that interview from Friday, it's still on the Facebook page. It's on the YouTube page. You can listen to it on podcasts like you can all the shows. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podbean, any of the ones you can think of, you can find it. Pandora. So thanks to Phil for coming in. We had a great conversation, as I said. Don't forget, we've got our college football, the college football huddle, TGI Sports Talk College Football Huddle on Wednesdays now at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll talk a little college football today, not quite as much as I might normally because of that, but we'll be talking college football still on Sundays about when it comes to that. And also next Friday, I'll have Jim Jeffcoat, former Dallas Cowboy. We'll do a promo after this show for it and get it posted. But he'll be my guest on Friday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll talk about his great career with the Cowboys, two-time Super Bowl champion, and also played for the great Tom Landry and the great Jimmy Johnson. Not a lot of guys have that distinction. Good morning, Dan. How are you today? Saw Dan up at the Valley Cats game. He's been a usher there for many, many years, maybe since the inception of the Joe. I'm not sure. And Dan, you can certainly comment if you want, but welcome this morning. Dan does a show with Dan Harris as well, talking New York baseball. And I do a show with Dan Harris, don't forget, on Friday afternoons at 2 p.m. talking New York sports. And Keith tries not to get as worked up as he normally does because, you know, Dan keeps me in check. So I hope you guys are all having a great day. We had a great night out last night. Rebirth of the Yankees coincided. Welcome, Dan, Edward Shraj. I hope I said your name right, Edward. Coincide with free agency. Before 1964, there was no draft. Good point. Well, there was the amateur draft did not start until 1964, but I'm 66, I believe. But you're right. When you're talking, I believe what Edward is referring to is he says free agency. I'm sorry. So I guess I kind of put those two things together. Free agency started with a draft, if you remember, where I guess up to 12 teams could take you. I don't remember all the particulars, but anyway, great book, Dog Days. Make sure you get out and get it and take a look at the interview. And Dan is filling me in. 14 years at the Joe for Dan. I used to go a lot. We were there Friday night. Busy weekend for me. Used to go a lot, and remember Dan from we used to sit in section 130 all the time. We sat way out in the left field corner last night, a Friday night. Gosh, But it was a great seats and a great game, by the way. Great game. If you like offensive baseball, it's a great game. The Cats were way down and came back, scored 9 runs, I think, in the 7th inning to take the lead and win that game. So A's showed up the Yankees. So Carlos, you're killing me off right off the bat. Listen, before I get to Carlos's statement, let me finish up. Yeah, we were at the Joe last night out with some great friends. I posted some pictures to my personal page and in the TGI Sports Talk page out with some great friends last night. Had a lot of fun. Got another birthday party to go to today. Busy weekend for an old guy like me. We're going to talk baseball right off the bat here. And Carlos is going to get me started, apparently. We'll talk a little bit about college football, and then we'll jump into the NFL. And Mark Mancini from Mancini Sports will join me again at 10:25, again on audio only today. He promises me the video next week. So, Carlos, get ready for the downfall. Listen, I can't get there yet, Carlos. I'll start with the Yankees only because Carlos has got me there. Let's see, what have I got? I got a banner for this, don't I? I must have got myself a banner together last night to talk about the Yankees. There it is. Yankees on fire. Yankees on fire. Will it last? Well, maybe I should respell that while I'm doing it. How about that? Oh, that's our next topic. What the hell? Carlos, you got me all flustered, buddy. See if I could do this. I'm not good at doing things on the fly here. Oh, crying out loud. Why won't it save it? Keep fixing it. Oh, you know why? I'm hitting the wrong keyboard, guys. I got too many mice. I don't know if it's mice. There you go. Yankees on fire. Will it last? Listen, Carlos. I've been as hard as the Yankees, and you know this, Carlos. You listen to my shows as much or more than anybody. Not just this show, but my vlogs. And I've been very, very hard on the Yankees all year. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's all over because they lost 3-2 to the A's yesterday after winning 13 straight games, something they hadn't done in 60 years. Because one of the reasons they had turned things around, and Philip Bosch and I talked about this Friday, they're playing a different style of ball during this 13-game winning streak. If that goes away, then you're right, Carlos. Let me get back to your comments here. Because Carlos, oh, my God. You're killing me. I got to find you. I got to find the right one. Get ready for the downfall. Am I ready for a downfall? No. I think the Yankees, I said this all along. The Yankees had enough talent, even when the roster was so poorly constructed, to right-handed. A shortstop playing shortstop that shouldn't be. Problems at catcher. Problems in center field. So even with all those problems, they're good enough to make the playoffs. They should have made the playoffs. Are they constructed to do well in the postseason? I really don't know. I still don't know. But this team is good enough. There's not going to be a free fall and they're going to fall out of the playoffs. This team will continue to win unless Aaron Boone does something stupid, like go back to just, Stanton at DH, Torrey's at shortstop every day, not being able to make the everyday plays, because this rise has been because of playing more small ball. Yes, they still got big bats, and they still got guys who are hitting home runs, and Stanton, who's been on fire since he's playing the outfield more. And I get that. I get that you're a better player when you actually play in the field than when you sit on a bench and get 4 bats a night. And he stayed healthy. And I'm very hard on Stanton. I still want him out of town. But they're better with Velasquez and Wade playing shortstop because they just make the everyday plays. They're guys who can steal a base. They're guys who do the situational hitting has been 100% better than it was earlier this year, all of last year, all of the year before. So do I think they're going to win the World Series? I still have my doubts. They need 4 pitchers. Well, I can name 4 that they're going to get very shortly. And if they stay healthy, there will be huge additions to this team. Kluber, Severino. I said I could name 4. Now I can only name 2. Clark Schmidt, possibly. I love Clark Schmidt. I know you don't, Carlos. He could contribute down the road. And Talietta has pitched really well the last 6 weeks, 2 months almost, except for his last start. Garrett Cole is pitching really well. Cortez comes out of nowhere and is pitching well. Montgomery's pitched well. Doesn't go deep enough into games. They could have enough pitching. I worry about the bullpen more than anything. Chapman can't get guys out to save his life. See, we got a couple other comments here. Quick question. Are you doing NFL Pick'em? Yes, Rick. Thank you for asking. And I'll bring this up again later. I meant to bring it up the top of the show. We're going to do the Pick'em, but to make it simpler and go faster on the show, I've set up a damn it, I lost it now. There's a link on the TGI Sports Talk page. I'll put it up here if I can find it quickly. We're gonna do an ESPN site to put our picks in there. We'll use their lines to make it simpler, and Billy won't be riding me about the lines all the time. Let's see if I can get this link. Here's the link, and the password is going to be just simply TGI Sports Talk in lowercase, no spaces. If you go to the TGI Sports Talk page, you're going to see the post, and I'll post it many more times. If I have to send it to some of you guys personally, I will. Just I want to do it with all of us, and I want you guys to share it. And I want you guys to invite people. And we got a little gift. We got a little prize this year. We're going to give a $100 Amazon gift card to whoever finishes with the most victories over the course of the year. So don't miss weeks. If you miss weeks, you're going to cost yourself, obviously. Share it with any of your friends. The only stipulation is going to be that the winner has got to be a follower. I didn't make it public, at least not yet. I kept it private, but I've shared it with all of the followers of TGI Sports Talk. And you guys can share it with anybody you like. I want to get a whole bunch of people in here and doing this, and we'll review it each week. We'll talk. We'll still do your picks. You can still throw out your comments as I throw out my picks. But I think this will speed that part of the show up a little bit from where we were last year. So good question, Rick. Glad you brought that up, and I will bring it up again. So thank you for that. A's good team pitching, right? You know what? A's have got are always a great regular season team. Carlos, they will never win a World Series playing Moneyball. Not going to happen. Good morning to, by the way, I didn't say good morning to Carlos, but good morning, Carlos. Good morning, Mark Robertshaw. Give Fritz Peterson a start. You know, it's a shame. Fritz Peterson was a great pitcher, and he was on some of those Yankee teams as they started to rebirth, and he was a big part of the Yankees winning again when he was traded to Cleveland for Chris Chambliss, amongst others. They traded half their pitching staff that night, and the team was the fans were in a tizzy, including 14-year-old me. But it turned out pretty well. Kenny Gifford is back and out of jail. Hello, Kenny. How are you? Good to see you back. Don't get thrown back in today. Carlos, what I missed? Did I miss some more of your comments or not? Get ready for the downfall? I guess not. Look, at the Yankees, as I said, I'm gonna review the rest of the Major League standings and whatnot, as we do every Sunday. But the Yankees we're starting in the American League East, so I'll stick with the Yankees. They lose a big game in the standings yesterday, and I do think it's important that they make a run at the Rays. I don't want a one-game playoff against the Red Sox, and I certainly don't want to be playing it in Fenway. And to be honest with you, I don't even know what pitcher I'm going to have available because these last 3 games of the regular season are against the Rays, and if they're still in striking distance of the division, and depending on how the pitching lines up, Garrett Cole may very well pitch and not be available for that one-game playoff. So, again, the Yankees, I think, really need to keep this run going, be smart. I mean, the problem during this whole thing is the Rays have been just as hot. Yankees have made up ground, but, gosh, the last 2 weeks they have not been able to make up any ground on the Rays. They've kept pace with the Yankees tremendously. Red Sox has righted the ship a little bit and won 3 in a row. the Blue Jays, who I keep waiting to make a run. Don't count the Blue Jays out of a playoff spot just yet. I mean, they are 6.5 games behind the Red Sox, but I think it's going to be the Rays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox in the World Series. I think the A's are done. Sorry, Carlos. Sterling Marte has been a great addition over there. One of the better trade deadline acquisitions that was made was that team. And, but I don't think they've got enough. I don't think they've got enough offense. And this team, look at all kudos to the Oakland front office, to Bob Melvin, who is, I think, the longest tenured manager in Major League Baseball, believe it or not, for the Oakland A's. These guys have done a great job of being in contention almost year after year with one of the smallest budgets in baseball, similar to the Rays, but with less success than the Rays. The Rays get to the postseason and have a chance to win. The A's never do. Never. Little welcome backs for Kenny. Glad you're out of jail again. Go Sox, Edward. Welcome to the show. We haven't had a real Red Sox fan here. And if you want to make a couple comments on why the Red Sox will continue, I'll tell you what, Edward, I don't know how much you've seen the show or my guest spots on Mac and Jack in the morning or wherever it might be, my vlogs. I'll tell you what, I have said over and over again that the biggest offseason acquisition any team made was Cora coming back to the manager spot in Boston. I certainly do. I'm not a Red Sox fan as being a big Yankee fan, but I have to give them credit. We did our preseason outlook here. I picked the Red Sox to finish below the Orioles. What do I know? That shows you how much I know. But when we get to the National League later, I'm not doing too bad there. The American League, not so great. Well, not terrible, but not so great. That was probably my worst pick. I know I had the Yankees, Red Sox, and Blue Jays all in contention for a wild card and that division. But I really thought the Red Sox were going to be awful. Just a great addition by the Red Sox. So, I mean, that's the East, guys. That's a dogfight. All three of the top teams have over an 89% chance of making the postseason now, according to whatever ESPN is using as their formula. Edward says, I took the words right out of my mouth. Not often a baseball manager makes a difference. Well, it does happen. It's not that often. You're right. There are certainly huge instances where the manager makes a case, but it's not that much now, quite frankly, in my mind, Edward, mainly because I got to leave the Orioles alone. But I'll back up here. Edward, this is why it gets to be a stream of consciousness, because I try to keep up with your guys' comments and I end up all over the place. But let me get back to Edward's comment. The way the game's played today, the managers, and it's a shame, managers don't have the impact that they used to have because there's all these scripts that are written out for the game before they're ever played. And there's so little feel for the game, right? Go back to Kevin Cash and the Rays in the World Series last year, taking your best pitcher out of the game at the most important juncture when he'd thrown. I don't know what he'd thrown. He hadn't thrown a lot of pitches. And you go to a bullpen, and you don't even go to one of the guys you got out there he had a plethora of guys that throw 100 miles an hour plus. He doesn't even bring him in. He brings in his worst relief pitcher, and game over. Dodgers win the World Series. With an asterisk, by the way, Dodger fans, not a 60-game season over there. So Edward and I are on the same page about the Red Sox, but I wasn't, to be honest with you, even when I said that, Edward, I did not think before the season he was going to have that much of an impact, because I thought they just had too many holes in the pitching staff, not enough offensive firepower outside of Bogarts and Devers. And they've just and JD Martinez, who really got off to a bad start, but he's come on lately. So the Red Sox have been a pleasant surprise, along with the Giants in the National League, probably the two biggest surprises for me in all of baseball. Let's move on a bit to the Central. not much to talk about there. The White Sox have a 100% chance of making the playoffs. They're 10 games ahead of the Indians. The Indians are done. As I said, I don't think Terry Francona is going to manage again due to his health issues. But the White Sox now, they're 4-6 in their last 10, and they got to stay interested here this last month. You can't go into playoffs with bad momentum and bad juju. And one thing they've got to come on is their lineup, because they've got a lot of guys to fit into only obviously a limited amount of positions. And Dallas Keuchel talked about it yesterday in an article. I think that he was talking about the pitching rotation, but also the lineup itself, because this is a deep team and a really, really good team. And I'll tell you what, this team is, again, they're built to win this year. That's why Tony La Russa is there, and that's why Tony La Russa is managing this team. And, it's win or go home for this team. Tony La Russa is 76 or 77 years old. He's not on a 5-year plan. So the White Sox are going to make the playoffs. It's just, and then they have to make some noise, or the season is a failure for them. Out west, oh, by the way, I still have to give continued kudos in the Central to A.J. Hinch and the Detroit Tigers. Only 6 games under 500. Not a great week this week. The last 10 days, they've been 4-6. But this team, I thought, was going to be a dumpster fire, similar to the Arizona Diamondbacks and even the Rockies, who have played a little bit better recently. Drew's not here today. I don't think he'll be here today. I know he's traveling. I believe he had a wedding out of town this week. I was actually going to try to get a couple of times. I was going to get Drew on to kind of review our picks, and this would have been good heading into September. Maybe we'll try to get him on for a segment next week, and talk a little bit about our picks, because we both had some good and bad ones. Anyway, the Tigers, big surprise. I didn't think they were this close. They could be a year away from maybe challenging for a wild card at least. And it's if you're a Tiger fan, the future is bright there for sure. Let me get back. I'm going to change my banner because I'm not really talking about the Yankees that much right now. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Does anybody know? Add your comments as we go along, guys. We'll discuss any of these topics you want to talk about. No Dave Guyette this morning. Hope Dave's okay. Dave never misses a show. Oh, let's go out west. And again, the Houston Astros, who, again, you know what? The White Sox aside, the White Sox and the Rays have the best record in the league by 6 games over the White Sox. 4 games over the 4 games over the Astros. I think the Astros are one of the better teams in baseball. When they're healthy, they got much better at the deadline in their bullpen. Their starting pitching is underrated, and their offense puts the ball in play. They do some really good situational things that other teams don't do. One of the reasons the Yankees, as I told Carlos earlier, have gotten back on the right track is because they've started to play better situational baseball. Stop waiting for 3-run home runs. Yes, Gallo and Rizzo have been huge additions. And Rizzo, by the way, I didn't mention we were talking about the Yankees. I go backwards. I'm sorry. But, Rizzo's been a great addition in making that infield sharp. Great leadership out of him, and great great awareness on the Orioles are signing Gavin Garrett from South Dakota. Well, assuming what I would do is give Gavin the ownership title out there, make him the president and CEO of the company, of the team, and I think they would do better than whatever Garrett can offer on the field, because that's where the problems lie with the Orioles. They are just one of the worst run franchises in all of sports in my mind, and have been for a long time, even when they were doing well under Buck Showalter. total mismanaged. Awful. Back to the West. I think the Astros are going to obviously win that division. They're 6.5 up on the A's. They play really good baseball. You guys who get all hung up on the cheating and the stealing of signs, I keep telling you, it wasn't that big a deal, and everybody tries to do it, and they got caught. The Mariners still playing some good baseball. They've lost 3 in a row, unfortunately, but they kind of hang on the peripheral of that last wild card. They fall back now probably 7 games, I guess. Are they behind the Red Sox? Yeah, 7 games behind the Red Sox. But I think the Mariners were a year away anyway, so it's surprising that they were able to contend at this point. The worst, I think, the biggest disappointment in this division, and maybe one of the bigger disappointments in baseball, continues to be the Los Angeles Angels. Yes, they're missing Mike Trout. And if the Angels have got to get it together and really address their pitching situation, or they're just going to waste Mike Trout's entire career, and it's going to be a Don Mattingly type career he's a better player. Donnie's a great player. Mike Trout's one of the best baseball players of all time, guys. He just had trouble staying healthy the last few years. But you look at Mike Trout's first 10 years in the league, and they compare with some of the greats of the game. But he can't win by himself. Ohtani can't win by himself. They need pitching. Cheating in baseball, it's the same as it was in 1800. You're right, Kenny. I know I talk about this almost every week when I get to the baseball segment, or sometimes I talk about it every week when I get to the football segment, because obviously my team has had their shares. I'm interested if Ed is still here when we get to talking about some NFL football later. If you stick around, we'll have some Patriot talk when Mark Mancini comes on and we break down the AFC. I may talk a little bit about the quarterback situation before then, but we're not there yet. Let's move over to the National League. I gotta put this banner up, and it's too bad that Drew's not here now. Drew's a Met fan. The Mets cannot get out of their own way. They did win yesterday. They needed that win badly. They really needed a win yesterday because they were losing games every way possible. And I do have something I'm going to go off on, and I might do it during this segment right here on the National League East, as they've been playing the Giants in a 4-game series and not playing well. The Phillies have tried to right the ship by winning a couple in a row, but they're still 4.5 games behind the red hot Atlanta Braves, who, except for the Yankees, if the Yankees hadn't come into town to kind of slow them down a little bit, they'd be even further ahead. I picked the Braves before the season started. You can go back and watch the tape, not only to win this Eastern Division, but also go to the World Series over the Dodgers and the vaunted Padres, who right now have fallen out of the playoffs altogether, shockingly. But the Mets, just look at, it's a plethora of problems. Too many injuries, but everybody gets injuries, guys. I know I got a couple comments here. I'll get to them in a second. Too many injuries. Well, the Braves lost a game, Carlos. You do know how many games they play in baseball, right? You're going to lose some games. My God. Oh, you're killing me. Mets, same old stuff. Mets won. I said they needed a win. The Mets are not going anywhere, because even when guys get healthy, they don't hit. Again, a team poorly constructed on defense. Their infield defense is not that good. And again, they don't have guys that there's no timely hitting. They get bad. They had great pitching. Taijuan Walker pitched great early in the year to keep them afloat. Rojas did a great job managing this team through their injuries. But I'll get to that in a second, Carlos. But it's all come back to haunt them. I mean, when DeGrom went down, I said when DeGrom first got hurt, they should have shut him down for a month. But they brought him back once, then they brought him back again. And now they've lost him for longer than that. And if they don't crawl back into this thing a little bit better than, 7.5 games out of first, and how far are they behind the wild card now? Farther than that, probably. Not the same, no, 71. They're 9 games out of the wild card. I don't know that I'm bringing DeGrom back and risking further injury. I might bring Syndergaard back in September to pitch out of the bullpen and tell him to throw fastballs and no breaking pitches just to give him some major league action before he comes back next year. But this team's done, guys. Done. They're done. And if Carlos has got I still don't know why that. Yeah, I do want to touch on the Padres. We'll get there when we get to the West. Snell pickup a lot of things should have happened with the Padres, and they never quite gelled. Let me finish up something on the National League East while we're talking about it. Thursday night, and I think I brought this up. I was on the left turn at Alcatraz show in San Francisco. It's a podcast it's a lot of fun. If you get a chance, it's on Mancini Sports. He's got some great shows that he produces, but we got talking about this, and I wanted to bring it up, and I didn't get a chance as they were talking about the Mets game that night. It was a play in this game, and you guys all know how I feel about the way baseball's played today. And we had a play that was really kind of old school baseball. Brandon Nimmo hits a ball in the gap, but not to the wall, but just between the left and right fielders, a little deep. And he turns on the Jets to turn it into a double, a hustle double. The kind of thing you want to watch in baseball, the thing that makes baseball so exciting. And he slides in to second base head first. Brandon Crawford gives him a little shove. I don't think it really had much impact. But all he did, guys, here's the base, right? Here's the base. You love the visuals, right? I have some very, very high-tech stuff here. Here's the base. Here's Brandon Nimmo. He slides across the base like this. He comes up like that for like millisecond and slides and stays on the base. He didn't slide past the base. He didn't try to avoid the tag by sliding out and, trying to grab it with his hand. And his hand came off and came back on. He went directly over the base, obviously beat the throw, popped off for a nanosecond. And it's a replay call and he's out. This is not what instant replay was brought into baseball for, and it's why it's been the ruination of sports in general, in making games long, having calls overturned that it wasn't meant to have anything to do with. That play, Brandon Nimmo is safe at second base for 150 years, and he's out. And it's going to stop guys from trying to do those things. They're not even going to try to take that extra base and get that hustle double, which is an exciting play in baseball. Now he's going to stay at first base, and I'm going to be there berating him for not running hard and trying to get a double out of that play. Gosh, I had to get that out of my system. Major League Baseball continues to not understand what's going on. Well, that's a good point. Maybe that's an answer. But this play shouldn't be reviewed even at all, Kenny. It was put into place to overrule egregious calls. Home runs that they call foul that were really fair, or vice versa. A play at first base like and here, by the way, I have really no problem with human error, and I don't think we need replay to begin with. I'm okay. Human error is part of the game, including with the umpires. Does anybody remember the 85 World Series? If Don Denkinger doesn't blow this call, Jorge Orta at first base with the last out of Game 6, Cardinals would have won the World Series, but he blows it, and the Royals come back to win that game and the World Series. Yes, the Cardinals should have won. But does anybody even remember that series if that play doesn't happen? Maybe you guys don't remember it anyway. I remember it vividly. One of the reasons we have instant replay today. And if it's going to be instituted, it should be instituted only for those types of plays. Not a guy whose body bounces off the base by you couldn't slip a piece of paper under him. Oh, so annoying. So anyway, There you go. If you're still here, Edward, this is why we call this our stream of consciousness show. Let's get back to baseball. The Nationals have packed it in, obviously, and the Marlins. Look at Donnie. Donnie Baseball's got another year. I'm a little worried what's going to happen to him after another year. Yeah, I don't know what their plan is there. I really don't. Then we moved to the Central, and my picks get better. I knew the Cubs would be bad. I knew the Pirates would be bad. I wasn't really high on the Cardinals, but I love the Brewers. I think Craig Counsell is one of the best managers in baseball. Little surprised they didn't pick up some hitting at the trading deadline, but what a great job Craig Counsell's done. And now Carl's going to point out to me that they've lost 3 in a row, but they got a 7.5 game lead. They got the best pitching. I think they might have the best pitching in all of baseball. And I think Craig Counsell is one of the best managers in baseball, and could very well win the Manager of the Year this year. But it's probably going to be Gabe Kapler, who is not half the manager that Counsell is in my mind, but he's done a great job this year, and I cannot take that away from him. The Reds, very surprisingly, 11 games over 500, currently own that second wild card, as we talked about. We'll get to the Padres in a second. While the Padres were imploding and still continue to implode, they're just 2-8 over their last 10 with another loss last night. The Reds have not gotten hot, but they've stayed pretty consistent here in the second half of the season, winning series. That's what you got to do in baseball, right? I mean, you're not going to have a lot of 13-game win streaks like the Yankees have had. But you got to keep winning series. If you win every series you play all year long, which is a stretch, obviously, you're going to probably win your division. And the Reds have been very good at that, especially since the All-Star break. So kudos to the Reds, and kudos to them at the moment being in the playoffs. And right now they've got almost a 70% chance of getting there. According to this formula that ESPN is using, and there's all kinds of different formulas that are out there. But the Padres have dropped to just an 18%. So let's move to the West. The surprising Dodgers continue to play great baseball, 7-3 over the last 10, 2.5 games up over the Dodgers. I keep waiting for the bottom to fall out. It doesn't happen. Such a good baseball team, such a good fundamental. They play great fundamental baseball. They've got some older guys that have had really good years. They've got some younger guys that have kicked it in. They've got some cast-offs that have picked it up. Although Gausman now, their number one pitcher that they acquired, I think from the Orioles, Kenny, who looked like he was a Cy Young candidate until last month. The league's starting to catch up with him. The man's just got 2 pitches. It's a little hard to be a really successful starting pitcher with just 2 pitches. And the league may be catching up to him a little bit. We'll see what happens down the stretch and in the playoffs with Gausman. But the Dodgers, again, are getting healthy. They're 8-2. They're pushing the Giants. They're not falling apart. They're going to get this first wild card for sure. And again, the Scherzer and the Turner trade, biggest trade at trade deadline impact deal of all time. I can't remember a trade deadline deal where somebody got an ace pitcher and one of the better shortstops in the game in the same trade, or something even close to that. All right, so we got some and then we'll get to the Padres. The Padres, 7 games over, 2-8 again the last 10. They're just something awful since the All-Star break. The pitching staff has completely fallen apart. Larry Rothschild got fired this week. Whether he's to blame, I don't know. But as you bring in all these pitchers and they either get hurt or they underperform, as Carlos talked about here. I know Kenny's got some stuff here too. We'll go back. I might have to go backwards a little bit, but let's see. This is Rick's comment about the replay. Too late to go back now? I don't think so. Or at least implement it the way it's supposed to be used, Rick. I just don't get that. Yeah, we got that one. So let me get back here to Carlos. Carlos talked about the Padres not being better is crazy. I get it. I mean, part of the problem, Carlos, in my mind, yes, the pitching has been atrocious. Darvish is hurt, been hurt. Snell has been just a shell of himself. Musgrove hasn't really done all that much since his no-hitter. They just have struggled to put anything together from a pitching standpoint. And offensively, Tatis has missed too many games. He made too many errors at shortstop, and they were attributing some of his injury issues to playing shortstop. And he's been playing, I don't know if he's playing exclusively outfield. I'd have to take a look, but he's playing a lot of outfield now to maybe take the stress off his body a little bit. He's a great player, but he's got to play more games. You can't. Same with the Yankees and Judge, and you got to play more. You got to play the majority of the games, a great majority of the games, if your team's gonna to contend. And they've been awful on the road. 5 games under 500. I don't know what's to blame. The Snell pickup should have solidified that staff. I agree 100%. Between him and Darvish, just not a good look. It's all about you. You left some stuff out there. Oh, there you go. It's all about money. Well, I don't know if you're Edward's still here. Attaboy. Kenny, I'm not sure. Maybe you'll elaborate down here. Edward's talking about the Big Red Machine. I missed his comment there. They're back. I know a couple of big Cincinnati fans. This is a good baseball team. They got some bats, man. And they got some pitchers. Sonny Gray, who we couldn't wait to chase out in New York, rightfully so, because he can't pitch here. It's not easy. It's different pitching in Cincinnati, and it's different than pitching in Milwaukee than it is pitching in New York, which is different than even Boston or LA in my mind. I mean, those are still tougher places to play and pitch than, say, Cincinnati, but it just didn't work out for him there, but he's pitched great with the Cardinals. He's been hurt. He's back. The hitters have been awesome, and Winkler and Castellanos. There's another pitcher I'm trying to think of that the Yankees were out for after all spring. Let me take a look here quick. And he got off to just a horrendous start, but then he's picked it up. Who am I thinking of? Help me out, Carlos. I'll find him. Oh, Luis Castillo. Gosh, of course. Yankees were after him all spring. You only need to win 50% of your series to win the division. I got to do the math. Well, that wouldn't work if you. Well, let's see. How many series would there be? Well, you're probably right, Kenny. You're probably right. Even if you've only won like 2 out of 3. If you win half of them and there's 26 series, I don't know how much there are. That still puts you 26 games over 500, right? Oh, Kenny's got to throw the food comments in this morning. Steak and eggs with home fries this morning. I can't eat. I ate too much last night. Oh, we were out to dinner. What a great meal at Lansing's Southside in Amsterdam, by the way. Another plug, unpaid for. The guys are in the Amsterdam area. Check it out. Really good. Food's good. Portions are awesome. Great wait staff. Where was I? So that's our division breakdown for now. I'll keep an eye on the comments. Coconut and pineapple muffins here. Oh gosh, I wanted to look at. I know we had some other couple other things I wanted to chat about on Major League Baseball here. Let's take a look. I mentioned Dallas Keuchel was talking about understanding, the White Sox have got to stay interested here in October, and hopefully they do. And one of the things I got to do is figure out, that playoff roster. The Pirates, and Mark Mancini maybe if we have time, can comment on this. They released veteran outfielder Gregory Polanco, who is a great player. I mean, they had great expectations for him, this kid, and Never quite lived up to his expectations. So they've released him, which is a little bit of a surprise move at this point in the season. And he'll be signed by somebody for nothing now. If he gets claimed on waivers, the Pirates will pay his entire salary, and he possibly will be a help for some team. Might be able to help the Yankees off the bench. Jerry Koosman, the great Jerry Koosman, who was always second fiddle to Tom Seaver on those great Met teams in the late 60s and 70s. Well, a couple of great teams anyway. He finally gets his due and gets his number retired. His number 36 was retired yesterday, only the fifth player the Mets have ever honored as so. Tom Seaver, Gil Hodges, Casey Stengel come before him, as well as Mike Piazza, which, you know what? Mike Piazza is a great player. But as a Met, I don't know how he got his number retired before Jerry Koosman. Just something that I'll throw out there. And let's see what other news we have here. I don't want to get into that. Oh, Bassett. The A's Bassett. Chris Bassett got hit in that ugly incident a week or so ago, 10 days ago. Got hit in the face with a line drive. And fortunately, no major structural damage. And he hopes to return this year to help the A's out going forward. So we'll see how that goes. And we're at 9:46, so I want to jump on to if there's any more baseball you guys want to chat about. Let's see, what did I miss? I guess that's all I really wanted to cover. Let me check one more thing here. Oh, Lord. What a great day today. I love Sundays, guys. Football's back. We're going to talk a little college football in a second. We're actually not many games, but we had some games happen yesterday. We're going to have the NFL in a couple of weeks, less than a couple of weeks now. And the college gets off to a big start very soon. So I guess that's all I got right now in baseball, unless there's any last. Kenny's had enough. Kenny's had enough of the baseball talk today, apparently. I won't bring up basketball at all for a little while yet, Kenny, so you'll be happy there. Other teams catching up with the Mohawks. I guess we're not off baseball yet. The Mohawks playing the perfect game. Forgive me if I say it wrong, Rick. The perfect game league here in upstate New York. All college kids, really good college kids. A lot of Division I kids play in this league. I think it's a wooden bat league, isn't it? Rick? Well, I look for my next banner. You can comment, and then we'll move on. Kenny, because Kenny's excited. We're not going to get to the NFL just yet. We're going to talk a little bit of college football. Then I'm going to talk some NFL before Mark Mancini comes on, and we're going to preview the AFC the same way we did the NFC last week. So while I don't have a banner for college football, I guess I don't. So we'll put this back up for now. So, Rick, add anything? All right, we're done. Go Mohawks. The season's got to be over, though, Rick, isn't it? Those kids got to get back to school. College football. Let's look at I want to look quickly at the scoreboard from yesterday. Not a lot of big games. Not any big games, really. But there was some interesting games. I was upset. You guys have heard me talk about the shoebox. And I thought we would have a shoebox yesterday. And I loved, and I think I talked about this Wednesday night on my show. I loved Illinois getting 7 points at home from Nebraska. Nebraska just continues to not get it done under Scott Frost. They lose 30-22 in a game that really didn't feel that close. And not a good start to the Big Ten season for Nebraska. Already under fire, NCAA investigations into the program and Scott Frost. And I think you're right. Nebraska coach will get fired, Kenny. He's got a new. Well, a lot of times when a new AD comes in, it's bad news for the head coach anyway, right? But this happens to be an ex-teammate of his, and Trev Albert, formerly of ESPN, and a great linebacker at the University of Nebraska. But Nebraska's been irrelevant now for a decade. And Scott Frost was brought in here off his great success at University of Central Florida and has not performed. And now and the team hasn't performed or improved. And since they went to the Big Ten, I mean, this is my problem with realignment and everything. I'll get into that in a little bit. But this team hasn't gotten better now with NCAA investigations. Maybe even if in fact, I'll go back to your SEC comment in a minute, Kenny. I want to do the scoreboard quickly. Like I'm saying, even if Trev Alberts is in fact his friend, Scott Frost is possibly doomed out there. Now, bad news for Illinois. In Illinois, a lot of excitement in Illinois with Brett Bielema taking over there as the head coach. He did really well at Wisconsin, moved on to Arkansas, and didn't do so well. Now bounced around a couple of professional jobs. He was at the Patriots for about 10 minutes, but he worked last year with the Giants, I believe. Brett Bielema is a good college coach. The biggest problem he's got is his starting quarterback, Brandon Peters, got hurt early in this game, and the backup, Arthur Sitkowski, did play very well. So maybe Illinois can make some noise. Maybe Illinois can be the Indiana this year. I don't think so, but a good start for Illinois getting out of the box with a nice home win over Nebraska. The other game that I liked a lot, didn't get a chance to put any shekels on it yesterday, were the UCLA Bruins of Chip Kelly giving up, I believe, 17 points they laid to Hawaii yesterday. Hawaii doesn't play all that great away from home, as you might imagine. Tough travel conditions when you got to fly to and from Hawaii. But UCLA had their way with them pretty much from the start. They jumped out 24-3 in the first quarter and never looked back. 44-10. Not going to be a huge victory for UCLA, but as I've talked about on the College Football Huddle, UCLA is has been improving consistently under Chip Kelly. They were only 3-4 last year, but they played really well towards the end of the season. And I believe their 4 losses were by like a total of 12 points or something. So they played very, very well. Some other scores. What are we doing time-wise? Okay. What some other scores? Fresno State rolls over UConn. UConn has been, again, irrelevant. Since the Big 8 East broke up, UConn's been just a train wreck. Randy Edsall in his second go-around here at UConn is not getting it done, and he's probably going to be not going to survive much longer here either. An interesting UTEP team, which could surprise a bit this year. We always have these big years. Let me go back. I see a comment from Kenny about UCLA. I like UCLA a lot this year, Kenny. I have the same feeling. I'm glad you said that because I did have it in my notes here. I do like UCLA to make a big year. I don't know about playoff material as far as the final 4, but because the Pac-12 has a lot of problems getting the teams into that Final 4, and we'll see what happens. They'd have to run the table. They definitely have to run the table to have a chance, but to compete for a Pac-12 championship, they're in their position to do that. I mean, the league there's a lot of parity in that league. Oregon is good, but not great. USC is USC, and they don't seem to ever get over the hump. They're still good, but they're not great. Arizona State, there was big things expected for Arizona State, and they got problems under Herm Edwards with some violations possibly. Some coaches have been fired. I think 4 coaches have turned over since they started practicing this summer. Not a good sign for Arizona State. Washington seems to be heading in the right direction and improving their lot. And there'll be some surprise teams. There's always some surprises teams. I mean, look at what happened last year. I just talked about UTEP potentially being a surprise this year. We have San Jose State was a big surprise last year. Buffalo was a big surprise last year. Liberty, Coastal Carolina, great stories. And again, all why Kenny's next question. No, the playoffs are not expanded yet, Kenny. That 12-team expansion, it's not finalized yet. I do believe it will come to fruition, but technically right now it's scheduled for 2025. I don't think it'll take that long, assuming they get all parties on the same page. I think it'll happen sooner. The reason it can't happen sooner is because of TV contracts, your favorite topic, money. And the whole SEC thing. I know you had a comment up here earlier, Kenny, about the SEC, which we'll talk about in a second. Well, we'll talk about it now. The only other game yesterday was that surprising San Jose State team that I mentioned from last year wins big in their opener, but against Southern Utah, not much to get excited about there. I'll talk a little bit about the upcoming schedule in just a minute. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today because we spend a lot of time on it now on Wednesday nights in the college football huddle. But the playoff, Kenny, right now, 2025, I think we'll see it in the next year or two, but not this year. It's 4 teams this year, so UCLA is going to have trouble. If it was a 12-team playoff, they'd have a shot because the Pac-12 would have an automatic bid. Now, we talk about that, and Kenny's talking about the SEC is going to hurt themselves. The SEC is hurting all of football in my mind. I've talked about this a lot. Kenny, I don't know how much you've heard of it as you've been in Facebook jail. I don't want to just say jail. I don't want to give our new listeners like Edward a wrong idea. But the SEC and the moves that they're making, bringing in the Oklahomas and the Texases and wrecking a league like the Big 12, for a second time, the Big 12 has been wrecked now by this realignment. They lost Texas A&M. They lost Nebraska in the first wave of this. And then there was all kinds of dominoes that fell, and they brought in West Virginia from all the way across the country. And look, I already have a problem with the fact that, this is a regional sport that they're trying to make national. It becomes a national sport. There's great national interest in the regional rivalries in college football, and they're wrecking that. They're wrecking it. Kenny's right. Texas and Oklahoma will suffer badly being in the SEC. The SEC thinks they're helping themselves, right, by getting better teams. And first of all, the have-nots there are going to be in big trouble in the SEC, the Vanderbilts, and the teams they keep around so they keep their academic standing a little higher than where it needs to be. However, those things are rated. Are not going to have any chance. They don't have a chance now. But Texas and Oklahoma, this is the Southeastern Conference. Southeast means to me Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Louisiana, Oklahoma. See, my map doesn't put them in the Southeast. Texas A&M, Texas, no. Arkansas, no. The Big 12. What are the Big 12 going to do now? They're hurt. They've either got to find a way to expand, or they're not going to probably keep their group of 5 designation, however that works, which hurts them come playoff time. It hurts them come voting rights and such when those things happen with the NCAA. And there's lots of dominoes to fall with the NCAA upcoming. But this whole thing is not good for football in any way, shape, or form. The Pac-12 or the Pac-12, as announced, are not going to expand right now. Some of those, the Pac-12, I'm sorry, the Big 12 was hoping to possibly merge with the Pac-12 to make a super league, which is probably the only way it was going to work. Because how is the Pac-12 going to take any of those remaining Big 12 teams? Oklahoma State? How? Iowa State? It doesn't work. TV won't pay the Big 12. Well, they won't eventually. And again, one of the reasons that Pac-12 is still considering suing ESPN is for their role in all of these negotiations, getting Texas and Oklahoma to leave and go to the SEC. Because, surprisingly enough, ESPN is going to have the SEC contract here in just a couple of years when CBS loses it, which is a shame, by the way. CBS, and again, I understand things change, but I like my old school. I like CBS having the SEC. For years, my favorite part of the day was to go play golf or do whatever chores I had to get done and have everything done, shopping, whatever, get home, watch the 3:30 SEC game on CBS with Vern Lindquist and Gary Dales, and I loved it. Vern since retired, but, another great tradition gone. College football keeps getting its own way, and the NCAA, I think it's going to get worse because the NCAA is looking at the entire way that it's structured and the way they are the central regulating body, and they're thinking about not being such and letting these leagues kind of roost themselves and whatever form that takes. Not a good idea, guys. Not a good idea. As bad as the NCAA is, there needs to be a governing body to overlook all of these different conferences. By the time we get to 2025, if that playoff is still on track for that year, the SEC might have 28 teams. There might be 4 leagues. I don't think so, but there's talk of 4 super conferences. But what's the point? And Kenny's right. It's about money. And they hurt the sport overall. They hurt the fan overall. Big 12 is going to lose out big time, as Kenny said, in TV money. Because there's some good teams left there. Don't get me wrong. Oklahoma State's a good team. Iowa State, I think one of the best teams in the country. You want to talk about a team that could crash the party, Kenny, with 4 teams even. Watch out for Iowa State. If they can find a way to beat Oklahoma, maybe twice they have to do it. They're gonna be a very good team, and they've got a really good running back. They've got a really good quarterback, and one of the best coaches in the country, in Matt Campbell. So that's all we're going to talk about there. Kenny's got more. What do you got? You got something else, Kenny? Will only 2 teams can get in. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there, Kenny. But you can I'll back up to that if you want. But that's all the college I want to talk about. I mean, real quickly, because I do want to talk a little bit about the NFC before we get Mark Mancini here, and hopefully my Bluetooth connection works better than it did last week. We may do a sound check with you guys when he gets on. But real quick, some great games. We got a full slate of games next week. Full slate of games. What's Kenny got here? I love college football. I love professional football. Don't get me wrong, but I love college football. Absolutely love it. I'm excited. We got a full slate of games next week. Surprisingly enough, I'm not sure why, but there's like 20 games on Thursday. I know it's a holiday weekend, but I don't remember the NCAA ever starting with a bunch of games on a Thursday night. Not a lot of marquee matchups that night. I think the best one might be Ohio State and Minnesota. Yeah, that's probably the best game there. You got a good game on Friday in North Carolina, Virginia. Notre Dame, I know, opens up, I think, on the Labor Day night, maybe. Kenny, you can probably... Oh, I got you. 2 teams from any Big 5 conferences. I get you. Notre Dame opens up with Florida State. Florida State's been in quite a downward spiral, but they're going to be better this year. And that could be an interesting game for Notre Dame to get started with. He says it's on Sunday, which I will not doubt him. I'm kind of just scrolling through the schedule here. I'm only up to Friday. Michigan State plays Northwestern. There's some big early conference games, actually, this first week. Penn State and Wisconsin. I'm just scrolling through quickly to give you some of the better games I see. What else we got here? No dead air. Alabama interconference game. Very interesting game at 3:30 Saturday. Can't see where it's going to be. I'm guessing that game might be on CBS. I can't tell. Alabama at Miami. My Miami Hurricanes. Going to be a very interesting game for both teams. If you're going to get this Alabama team, it might be the best time to do it is now. They lost a lot. In a quarterback, two of their top wide receivers, a bunch of the number one offensive linemen, a lot on defense. It's still going to be a great team because Alabama just reloads. We know that, right? But if you're going to get by Alabama, week 1 would be the time to do it. Indiana, Iowa, that'll be a good game to kind of tell. Is Indiana going to be able to keep up the pace they set last year, only losing to Ohio State all year? Michael Penix back from injury, really good quarterback. West Virginia, Maryland, a tone setter for both those teams. San Jose State and USC. I talked about San Jose State. I believe they're 24th in the country. Last year, one of the big surprises, they're playing at USC. This will be a very interesting game. But the biggie for the week, Syracuse plays Ohio, by the way, for you local fans. The really big game of the week, there's some other stuff here, and I don't want to spend much more time on college, but the really big game of the week is going to be on Saturday night, Clemson and Georgia. Now, neither one of these teams, Kenny's got Alabama by 20. It's possible. Team lets me down all the time. That team will go as far as De'Aaron King takes them, 6-year senior. Surprisingly, came back for another year. The NIL might have had something to do with that decision to come back. But Clemson and Georgia will be the marquee matchup of the year. The team that loses this game, still alive for the national championship. They'll still be alive for the 4-game playoff just because of the way it works. They're both ranked in the top 5 right now. They're not going to fall that far back unless they get absolutely blown out, which I don't see happening. The loser here will not be by any means probably hindered by this loss, assuming they run a table. And the winner will obviously have a big step in the right direction. So that's the big game. Syracuse, only a B-League team. You know, it's a shame, Kenny, is they got a great coach. Dino Barbers is a great coach, I think. And I just don't think the school is that interested in winning. I don't really know what the problem at Syracuse is. It looked like they were turning the corner a little bit a couple years ago, but they just have not kept it going. Let's move on to the NFL. We'll talk a little bit. We'll go through a couple of scores maybe. I'll go through the preseason scores quickly, even though they don't mean a whole lot. I'll talk a little bit about some of the NFC news, a trade with and I do want to talk about the Patriots quarterback situation a little bit. Maybe a couple of situations here. Let's see. This is week 1. Let's go back to preseason. This week's games, we still got a few games to be played. Actually, a couple of Sunday games, which is odd for preseason, right? We got the Jaguars and Cowboys playing today, the Dolphins and Bengals, 49ers. Patriots and Giants play tonight, too. That'll be interesting at 6 o'clock. Not sure where we're going to get that game to watch it, but one of the local channels could have that on. They often will do that. Backing up to Kenny for a second. I'm sorry, but college is for learning and not for winning games. Coaches get paid to win games, though, Kenny. Just the way it is. And you talked about the money. And again, you're a Notre Dame fan. You must want them to win. So, I don't doubt the sincerity of your comment, but you think it's okay if you're a Notre Dame fan and they go 5-5 every year, but they're turning out wonderful human beings. Yes, they're schools of higher learning, and that's what they should be doing, but still. What's the news? The Colts and Lions, who cares? Eagles tie the Jets. Eagles are in big trouble, guys. They made a trade, by the way, for Minshew from the Jaguars after, not surprisingly, Trevor Lawrence was named the starting quarterback. Not a lot of news. Tampa Bay, surprisingly, Tom Brady played the most he's played this entire preseason. Looked very good, and Tampa Bay won off the Texans are going to be. We're going to talk about the AFC in a little bit. The Texans are going to be a dumpster fire. And then you had the Seahawks, and I'm not sure what happened with the Cardinals and the Saints getting canceled. I don't know if it was in the news part of this. What happened to the Cardinals game? Yeah, it's funny. I don't even have a news item for it. So I'm not sure what happened there, whether it was a COVID situation or not, because, again, these games will be forfeits soon enough. The Packers get shut out in their finale, but they did show some progress. The Jaguars, I said, traded Minshew to the Eagles for a 6th-round draft pick. Here's a guy the Jets should be interested in. The Jets got a problem. They don't have a backup quarterback. Zach Wilson is their quarterback. I get it. But, I don't know why if he gets hurt or he struggles, they don't have an option B. The Ravens, I keep talking about this record. They won their 20th straight. I'm going to look at Kenny's thing here real quick before I go on to this. Notre Dame will win 8 games most years, but can't compete in the football minor leagues. Well, 8 wins is, acceptable at most schools, but, again, you got to win games. So, the Ravens, 20th straight preseason win, means nothing, but I just find that stat really interesting. It's been so many years since they've lost a game in the preseason. But one of the guys I like to really break out, I took him really high on a fantasy draft that I did with Dan Harris and Let's Talk Sports, the Let's Talk Sports show. He got hurt in this game. He's going to have an MRI on his knee today. I like this kid to really break out. We'll be talking about that a little bit more when I get Mark Mancini on here in about 15 minutes. What else we want to talk about? Ellenberger, the backup quarterback for the Colts, backing up Carson Wentz, who has his own injury issues going on. He's out with a knee injury for 5 or 6 weeks. Dominican Sue, the latest player added to COVID. COVID has not gone away, and there's going to be situations this year where COVID comes into play, where guys miss games. There could be games forfeited and financial losses attributed to the teams that cause these forfeits. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Giants linebacker Ryan Anderson is suspended 6 games for PED violation. These guys never learn. And, just some scary stuff going on. And we'll talk real quick about the Sony Michel trade. We'll probably talk about it more with Mark Mancini as well. But the Patriots traded Sony Michel to the Rams, who lost Cam Akers for the season. Sony Michel can be a very productive NFL player and a good fit for the Rams if he's healthy. This move was kind of telegraphed when the Patriots didn't pick up his option for next year, and Sony hasn't been able to stay in the field and contribute enough. So good trade, I think, for both teams. Depending on performance, this could turn into a 4th-round draft pick for the Patriots, or I think it's a 5th and a 6th right now. Depending on performance, it can turn into a 4. Let's talk about Cam Newton. Look at Cam can go to Washington. They're not bringing in Deshaun Watson for many reasons. First of all, he's a bad act. Second of all, he's not a good teammate. Third of all, they've got their quarterback in the future in Mac Jones, and Mac Jones should start right now. Watch my vlog from Friday. Cam Newton, if we're talking about Cam Newton from 2015, and I'll talk about this again with Mark, then by all means, he needs to play. But he's not. He doesn't have an arm, and he doesn't have leadership. You know, they talk so much about the leadership capabilities of Cam and how much hard he works and what a great teammate he is. Well, the great teammate broke protocol, went off campus, and got himself having to sit out 5 practice days because he won't get the vaccine. That's his choice. But he knows the NFL protocols are if you're not vaccinated, you can't practice for 5 days if you leave the campus. Well, the Patriots are covering for him for whatever reason, saying they sent him off. Come on. The Patriots and Bill Belichick know the protocols. You think they wanted Cam to miss 5 days worth of practice and send him off on this whatever errand they sent him off on? Mac Jones needs to be the starter today and opening day. Get your bumps and bruises out of the way early. Not in week 4 or 5 when Cam has shown he can't do it. Are the Bills moving to a new place in the city? Possibly. Again, another team holding a city hostage for a stadium. St. Louis is supposedly wooing them. Toronto's been in conversations with the Bills for years. And St. Louis is a major player in this whole thing, as they always are, it seems, when teams are looking to relocate. Even though 2 teams have left there. Actually, more than that, I think. No, I guess 2 teams have left there. And if I'm a Bills fan, that would tick me off. I think Bills fans have been pretty loyal to that team through the years, through both good and a lot of bad years. Mac Jones is okay, but not a major league player. Yes, he is. He will be. We don't know that. I shouldn't say that. I think he is. But you don't know that he isn't, and I don't know that he is. I do know the coaches, the players, all love the intangibles that he brings to the game. His leadership on the field, his knowledge of the playbook, the swagger and confidence that he carries himself with, the ability to move guys around to get him in position to be able to make plays. Now, granted, he's played against second teams a lot in preseason and even in these joint scrimmages. But Mac Jones has shown a lot of maturity for a young guy at quarterback. And I can live with him. All I need is him to be a game manager. The defense is going to be really good, much better than last year. They're much better at all the skill positions. They're going to run the football. Guaranteed, you're going to see this team pound the football a lot this year. That takes the pressure off a young quarterback. They've got guys that they can use as safety valves for this guy to keep him from having to chuck the ball downfield all day long. In James White and the 2 tight ends, Hunter Henry and help me out. What's my other damn hold on. Good grief. Should know this stuff. Where's my other tight end? Oh, yeah, Juno Smith. What's the matter with me? So Mac Jones, and again, remember, Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady from the day he started with the Patriots. He was a game manager the first 3 years. I hate that term, I guess, but that's what he was, if we're going to put a label on him. So, what they do here is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know why the Patriots covered up for Cam and this whole thing, but he's shown me I can't trust him. I can't trust him to be a leader. I can't trust that he's not going to go out and get COVID like he did last year and miss a game or 2 games or infect other guys and risk a forfeit. That's not how you lead teams. And that's my major problem with Cam right now. Plus the fact that he can't play. I mean, he's looked good in preseason, but his arm is gone, guys. If you watched him play last year, you saw it. Carlos must not be here because he'd be commenting now. We have a little wager about Mac Jones and Cam Newton. Thought that was a new one. Sorry. So anyway, it's going to be very interesting what happens here. The NFC we covered last year. I will remind you again. I guess we'll talk again next week before the season actually starts. But I like Washington in the East. I like the Cowboys to maybe get a wild card out of that division. I like the Packers. No, I like the Vikings in the North, and I like the Packers to potentially get a wild card. Gotta love Tampa Bay. I don't think there's any way you can pick against Tampa Bay. And I don't think anybody else will sniff a wild card in that division. And the Falcons could improve, but long ways to go. Too many pieces missing. I think the surprise team in the NFC will be the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray taking a big step forward. And then you're going to have a battle with Seattle and Los Angeles Rams. I don't think the Rams are I think the Rams now, they improved themselves by getting Sony Michel. That helps them a lot. But I'm not a Matthew Stafford fan. I don't think he's a guy to get you over the hump. Guys never won a playoff game. It's not like he didn't have any talent in Detroit in some of those years. And again, it doesn't all fall on a quarterback. I get that. Patriots kicked the tires on Matthew Stafford. Rams and Chargers will surprise many people. I'm not high in the Rams, but I am high on the Chargers, as we'll hear about in just a few minutes when we bring Mark Mancini into this conversation. Just not high in the Rams, and it's got to do with Matthew Stafford. And I think that puts Sean McVay, in danger this year of losing his job. I know he played in Detroit, Kenny, but he also had Calvin Johnson for a lot of those years. They had some good offensive talent. Got to the playoffs a couple times, never won a playoff game. I watched him play. He's a good quarterback. Patriots kicked the tires on him, but at that time I thought, and I'm pretty sure I read an article about the same similar topic, that the Patriots ultimately decided to do what they did and draft a quarterback as high as they did and not go for Matthew Stafford because they've had him before. His name was Drew Bledsoe, a really good NFL quarterback, but not one who could get us over the top. Well, there's a lot of reasons quarterbacks lose. I get it. But at the end of the day, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm wrong, probably as much as I'm right. But I'm right here and there. And I'm right more often than not when it comes to quarterbacks. I think the Saints are going to have problems with Jameis Winston being their starting quarterback because he's not going to protect the football the way that Drew Brees did. So it matters. You know, that guy was surrounded by great talent. The same talent that Tom Brady won with last year, except for a couple of guys, Gronkowski, Antonio Brown late in the season. The same guys that Jameis Winston couldn't win with and threw 30 interceptions with are the teams that Tom Brady won with. Winston does stink, right? I'm not sure where the other laugh came from, Kenny, but you can elaborate if you want. It's going to be a very interesting season in the NFL this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're only a couple of weeks away now, and I'm really excited about the fact that we're going to have some real games here soon. So let me talk about our football pool again, guys. Let me put up the link again. If you participated last year, Rick Sherlock asked me the question earlier. We are going to do our picks. I'm going to talk about the picks, and I'll review the picks every week. But rather than go through like they did last year, because I'd like to get more people involved, and the more people I had involved, the longer it took to do the picks, right? And I'll do my picks, and we'll have you guys comment, and we'll chat back and forth a little bit about it, but we won't wait for 5 or 6 or 7 people to make a pick. So get in this pool at ESPN. The password, if you go to the TGI Sports Talk page, the password's right in there. I'll keep sharing it. If any of you need it sent to you specifically, reach out to me at pats09@msn.com or post something on the page. The password, follow that link, and the password is simply TGI Sports Talk, all lower caps, no spaces. And I think we got Mark Mancini here. And how am I going to get... We got a problem. I already got a problem. Are you kidding me? Hang in there, Mark. Are you there, Mark? God. Now my phone won't let me answer it. I'll call you right back, Mark. Hold on. God. Oh, my gosh. Let me call him. Hey, at least it's in my headset.
I'm sorry, the person you are trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set.
He's not trying to call me back. Try him again. Mark Mancini, we're waiting for.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Great, my brother.
Unbelievable that today's my problem was the answer button didn't come up when you rang. I couldn't find a way to get to it. Oh, my God. Technology and 61-year-old men don't matter. Gosh, how are you, my friend?
I am doing great, man. I can't believe I'm back on the most must-hear, must-see radio show sweeping the country on Sundays. I'm calling it the grind, baby.
Well, we're grinding it out today, I can tell you. We've talked a lot today. We had a lot of baseball talk. We had a lot of college football talk. And I've been talking a little bit about the NFL and mostly the NFC, because you and I are going to jump into the AFC in a second. But as always, as I said, my guest today is Mark Mancini from Mancini Sports. Mark hosts shows. He produces a bunch of shows. But give the audience, as I do every week, your little recap of where they can find you and your show.
Well, they can find me on XM 203, Sirius 217, Fridays, 10 p.m. Out here on the West Coast, 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. Midnight Central, KMET 1490 AM Saturdays. We'll be starting in Philadelphia in another month on WWDB AM 860. That'll be Thursdays, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern out there. And we're working on other things, Tampa, and blessed to be part of this New York one here on Sundays. And the Pittsburgh Pirates give me the ability to do their thing on Mondays and Friday mornings, and producing all these other great shows, podcasts, and you're part of that left turn at Alcatraz, that San Francisco smack.
I just recovered from Thursday's appearance. A lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't need cold ones to do that one.
Boy, I'd say I call this my Stream of Consciousness show, but I got to change the name, because that's literally, man, we're all over the board there on Thursday night, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun with those guys. Yeah,
they love you dearly, and they're, with you and Curtis and all that, it's unbelievable to see where that show is going. So we're blessed.
Lots of fun. Like friend Kenny Gifford saying, "Hey, Mark, I know you can't see the comments. Hopefully next week Mark will be with us on video." We keep working towards that. But
Yep. I know. I get these XM meetings and everything, and I go, "Wow, I gotta get these video things going. I want to get the video things going." So yeah, we'll work that deal out, and definitely.
It's good stuff. Maybe you're not really Mark Mancini. I'm starting to think maybe that's why you won't come on video. I'm not sure. So when we
it's funny because I had to do one last night. I had to tape an old wrestling thing when I was in the wrestling as a ring announcer. So
saw that
I had to do one of those last night.
I was going to use that ring announcer picture today, and I didn't use it.
Yeah. I had to do one for the XPW of the old days and stuff. So it's unbelievable that video, and the StreamYard's great. The Zoom, and I know we do that on XM a lot too. So it's great with technology.
Hardest working man in show business. Kenny Gifford says you're the Howard Stern of sports, so I'm not sure where that comes from. I hope you're making the same money. That's all I can say.
Well, I'll tell you, little by little, anything good takes time, so I appreciate the compliments.
Awesome. Listen, so Mark, today I think we'll do the same thing we did last week, as I mentioned to you. We'll kind of go through the AFC. We'll talk about the division races and, some of the quarterback situations. There's a couple interesting ones, obviously, at least one that I'm particularly interested in. And we've had some trades. We'll talk about coaches that might find themselves on the hot seat and, some surprise teams as well. So we'll jump right in. And if we have time, we'll jump on to whatever other topics kind of come up during this conversation.
Can't wait.
So let's start in the AFC East, where my New England Patriots play. And I'm going to start there only because this is really the only place where there's quarterback competition. And it's kind of taken a strange turn this week with Cam Newton going off campus, not vaccinated, misses 5 days of practice as per NFL protocols. And the team's kind of covering for him. I don't understand why. But I find this to be indicative of why you can't trust a Cam Newton. Had COVID last year because he wasn't following protocols. And it speaks to the leadership capabilities of this guy. And we've got a young guy who's shown the intangibles that he's ready to be an NFL quarterback. Will there be some bumps along the way? Yes. But I say, in my case, as a Patriot fan, get those bumps out of the way in weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, and not waste 4 or 5 games with Cam Newton. And then we have to have that learning curve with Mac Jones. I say throw him in there out of the gate, and he can manage games. Tom Brady wasn't Tom Brady from the start of his career. He was managing football games. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I think they got one of the best coaches across the board in the NFL, and Bill Belichick. I love Mac Jones a lot. They got to have a pipeline going from Alabama to New England with Belichick and Saban there. But, when you look at Mac Jones, this guy is going to be – I'm not going to say he's going to win the championships Brady won there, but he's going to be a decade quarterback in New England. I like him a lot. I like him as much as I like Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Unfortunately, when we grew up, you saw the John Elways have to carry a clipboard for – a year learning the systems. Now these guys get thrown right out of the bat. And Cam Newton, I like Cam Newton, but somewhere along the line, he's fallen off probably after that Super Bowl loss. Maybe he's been spending too much time in the fedoras, the hat salons there or whatever. But this poor guy, man, can't seem to get his act together in New England. Take advantage of the system that's given to you. Help the young guy get to the pedestal too, like you had.
Yep.
And let's get this thing going in New England. But I think the big shocker that I heard last week was Sony Mitchell getting released, and the Rams picked him up. I like that kid a lot. The Rams needed somebody for the running game, and boy, he's going to help out a lot. But I like New England. New England is going to surprise a lot of teams this year. I don't know if they'll win the division, but keep your eyes on the Jets, man. The Jets I had last year to win the AFC East, and they coined that phrase in XM Sirius. If Mancini picks a team, take the opposite. World's worst handicapper. But I'll tell you, the Jets look really good, man. And if the Jet faithful can hold tight, the Jets will be there in another year.
Yeah, I've said to Jet fans the last several months or since the draft, don't judge the season by wins and losses. You want to judge it by Zach Wilson and his progression as an NFL quarterback and how competitive they are in games. I mean, I don't see this team winning more than 4 games maybe or 5 games, but that doesn't mean the season's been a failure. They are building something there and putting some parts together. I just don't think they're ready to compete. This is a tough division. And I do think the Bills will win the division because the Patriots may stumble a little bit early in this season. I expect them to get better and better, as they often do. Not last year, but they often do late in the season and capture a wild card and maybe push the Bills for the division late. And then you got the Dolphins. They're not a bad football team either, and it comes down to quarterback play there as well.
Well, they haven't had a quarterback there since Dan Marino left Pittsburgh to come down there. So, I mean, it's been a work in progress. We've seen the Tannehills go through there. We've seen the Rosens. We've seen a whole list of guys, garner the mantle for a short period of time. And when I look at the Dolphins, I don't know. It's been a far cry since I grew up with them. The Don Shulas, the Bob Greaseys, the Larry Zonkas, and then you had the Marinos and, the wide receivers they had there with Duper and all those guys. And now it's a cast of characters. And, it's pretty sad with a rich tradition in South Florida with football. How come the Dolphins haven't done anything for decades?
And they're building something there. And their coach Flores is a Bill Belichick disciple, which hasn't always worked out well for teams.
Right.
His coaching tree hasn't been great, but I think this might be the exception. This team, they're not exceptional at any one part of the game, but they're good at all of it. They're good on offense. They run the ball a bit. They can throw the ball here and there, which might be their biggest weakness. But they play good defense, and something that gets left out. A lot of conversations about NFL teams is special teams. And that's one thing that really helped the Patriots through the years, through their dynasties.
Right. I think
that got good special teams in Miami.
The problem is they got to get back to their logo. This logo they have now looks like the Dolphins getting a suntan with some copper tone.
Right. Looks like something out of, what was that? What was that Jim Carrey?
Yeah, it slipped my mind, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
God, somebody help me out. Somebody's got to make a post here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, they got to get rid of that logo and get back to the original one. But it's going to be interesting. And you know what? The problem is if you stop the season after 9-10 games, the Dolphins would be in the playoffs probably 8 out of 10 years. But towards the end, in a few years back, they had the division or a playoff pretty much wrapped up. All they had to do was win the game, and they let the Steelers come in there and steal that playoff spot.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough division. And it's possible they'll get 2 wild cards out of this division. It's possible. Again, no coach is in trouble in this division. I mean, they're all either too new or they,
right.
They're Bill Belichick, or they're McDermott, who has got a great track record in Buffalo. So these guys are.
Well, they got the best quarterback. Probably, I like Josh Allen a lot. I mean, this guy reminds me of John Elway. He can, if you're going to do a cross-country trip, forget paying American Airlines and Delta. Just hop on that guy's football. You'll get there.
I'll tell you what, he's a guy, too, that has gotten better, and he played from the get-go, basically, and and he took his lumps, but they were still winning games. They started winning games early in his tenure, and he's gotten better, and that team has gotten better every single year, which is how you want to see it go, right? So,
well, not only that, and let's not get that talk going of moving the Bills to Austin, Texas, because this is a team that's been in a city for decades, man. Leave them alone. Let them be a part of that Bills mafia there, and they're going to do some damage this year, Buffalo.
It got brought up earlier in the show, a question about the Bills moving and whatnot. I know St. Louis has been in a conversation. Toronto's been in a conversation for years, but I think it would be a travesty. The Bills fans, as far as I know, through thick and thin, have supported that team. And they can't hold that city hostage or the state hostage, whatever they're doing for a stadium. And
no, and it's funny you say that. Somewhere along my long list of hats and everything around here, I probably still get a Los Angeles Raiders hat. That's bringing back memories.
You don't have a Englewood?
No. Yeah. So somebody's going to find a San Diego Charger thing and tell me, hey, Mancini, I got one over here, a San Diego Charger. But the real travesty when you look in the NFL, and I know we're going to get to that division, is moving the Oakland Raiders out of Oakland. A lot of tradition.
Again, how many times are you going to do it? I mean, good grief. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Let's move on to the NFC, or the AFC North, where you're a Pittsburgh guy, so this may have some interest for you. I'm not high on the Steelers myself. I think the Browns will continue their improvement. I think Baker Mayfield, who I really could not get behind last year, I'm becoming more and more of a believer in him. I love the coach, and I think they're going to win this division. The Ravens had a huge loss, and a guy that I thought was going to really step forward this year, and the running back Dobbins got hurt last night in a preseason game. Not sure the severity of that, but it's going to severely impact their season if he's hurt and missing significant time. The Bengals will improve because Joe Burrow, I think, is the real deal. And I'm not sure about your Steelers. I'm assuming you're a Steelers fan, but I just think they're going to struggle. Big Ben is not Big Ben anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, if I was on video, you'd see what T-shirt I'm wearing right now. It says Pittsburgh City of Champs. But when you look at this division, I think it's the toughest division in football. A lot of people think the NFC West, and when I was talking to Freddie Coleman of ESPN the other day, he thinks that the NFC West is going to be a tough one too. I don't know what all the hoopla is over on that division, but I think you got the best quarterbacks in this division from top to bottom. I think you're going to have a rock'em sock'em. It reminds me of the SEC. And Cleveland, I love Baker Mayfield. I like the swagger he's brought there. You know, they stopped changing coaches in Cleveland like we've changed clothes. But, you know, the thing is, Cleveland's right on the upswing right now. And, you know, their first game of the year is going to be interesting. Kansas City. Yep. And just like Pittsburgh's will be against Buffalo. So Baltimore with the Vegas. You know, so we've got some things here. And don't forget Cincinnati. Burrow's a great quarterback. You know, learned a lot down under Ed Orgeron down there at LSU and stuff. So I like the way this division shapes up. You know, the way, you know, it's going to be interesting. And I'm going to tell you, you can have each team in this division winning close to 10 games pretty much. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers, their Achilles heel is going to be that offensive line, but they can run the ball and what a pickup with Harris. You got to keep Big Ben upright and find an adequate backup. Let's face it, we haven't had an adequate backup in Pittsburgh since Jim Gilliam. I mean, I've seen the Charlie Batches and all these other guys come through, and a lot of people think Rudolph is good, but you know, you got to get it back up there. And you know, there's been adequate backups across the league. They just haven't picked them up. So, you know, and Baltimore's going to be tough. Baltimore's a team where if you don't put enough nails in the coffin, Harbaugh is going to find a way to pull out wins. And, you know, it's going to be an unbelievable. I got Cleveland winning this division, and I might hear it from the brethren out there in Pittsburgh, but the Steelers could make some noise. And if they don't, maybe it's time to get rid of Tomlin, because I've been calling for Tomlin's head for quite a while, ever since Jacksonville came in that playoff game and ran roughshod with Bortles.
I'm shocked. I think Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in football. I really do, and that's what he.
Well, the only thing is if you look at his last few years, they've been slipping. He got a pass when Big Ben went out. I think the second game of the year. And all they had to do, they controlled the AFC picture. Tennessee stole it from them. And then last year, just not having this team mentally prepared after they got the streak snapped with Washington, it just seemed like they went downhill from there. And, you know, the back-to-back games with Cleveland just rolled them right out of the thing.
You know, it's funny. I mean, as tough as this division is, there's probably three guys. There was talk about Zach Taylor losing the locker room last year in Cincinnati, and if they don't show some significant progress this year, he could be in trouble. It's possible, because you don't get long in the NFL anymore. I mean, you get 2 years, you don't turn things around, you're in trouble. And so,
the problem.
Go ahead.
The problem in Cincinnati is if you're not at least competing with the Clevelands, Pittsburghs, Baltimore's. Basically, the bar has been Pittsburgh and Baltimore for quite a few years here, and even a decade. Yeah. Then you're going to be changing coaches, and you're trying to get on their level. But I like Cincinnati. They're young, and we'll find out. Burrow, Burrow will keep them right in the mix there. It's just a tough division from top to bottom. And when was the last time Cincinnati was relevant? You'd have to go back to Carson Palmer when he was knocked on his rear in the playoffs with the Steelers.
Well, they were winning or not winning playoff games. They were getting to some playoff games with Andy Dalton. I mean, Marvin Lewis got them to the playoffs on a fairly regular basis, but never won one. Which is amazing. He lasted as long as he did there. One thing I want to mention about this before we move on from this division, actually two things. Last year was shocking to me that John Harbaugh was in trouble. It seemed at the end of the year, and there was some talk about whether it might be a mutual parting of the ways. But I was kind of shocked that even came up because he's one of the better coaches consistently in the NFL. And we talk about special teams, that's his forte. And this team has been, other than a year or two here, been always in contention in the AFC. So I'm a little surprised. Do you think he'd be in trouble this year if for some reason that team stumbles?
Well, you know what? The defense has always been a mainstay in Baltimore. And, we'll find out what Lamar Jackson can do again. And, these running quarterbacks just have problems in the NFL. Case in point, Randall Cunningham. You can't really, you got to stay in the pocket and deliver. And I like the Bradys, the Big Bens, the guys that can stand in. When you run, you're giving yourself, a chance to get yourself injured. So, there's been a lot of talk, and Harbaugh would never have a problem finding a job. When you look at what he's done there, I mean, he's been consistent for years, and consistency makes people believe. Yeah. The divisions, it's a rock'em sock'em. And every time you think you got Baltimore done, if you don't put that final nail in their coffin, they're going to figure out a way to get in the playoffs and do some damage. I think, the talk about, Harbaugh started probably after that game they lost to Tennessee in their backyard when everybody thought they were going to the Super Bowl again. So that's been the thing that's been in the ears of the Ravens faithful. And, they should have put them down, and Henry had a big game against them, and you can't lose a game back in your backyard. But, the Steelers have done that with the New England Patriots coming to their neck of the woods. Case in point, when Tom Brady replaced Drew Bledsoe and ran roughshod over the Steelers to get them into the Super Bowl. So that's where, if I look at somebody that I think is be more on the hot seat, and I know I catch it from the people of Pittsburgh, but I think I would solidify more with Harbaugh than I would Tomlin, because if you look at Tomlin's track record the last 3 years, these guys really haven't done nothing in the playoffs and being prepared for the playoffs. And just look at that record, and I think you'd have to give more of a pass to Harbaugh. Granted, they all change coaches in Pittsburgh. I think they've only had 3 in the 60 years almost that I've been around.
One last thought on Harbaugh. If you take Tom Brady out of that division the last 20 years, it's possible Jim Harbaugh's got 3 or 4 Super Bowl rings as well, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
One last question. Pittsburgh, we talked about their backup quarterback situation. What's the deal with Haskins? Is he going to make the team? Is he going to make a difference?
Well, a lot of people like Rudolph, Haskins, being an NFC guy on the Redskins side of things too. I just thought he wasn't mentally prepared to play over there. He was given chances, and my knock on Ohio State quarterbacks in the NFL, I haven't seen a guy last in the NFL more than a cup of coffee, and I'm going back to Schleister with the gambling problems he had. So maybe Haskins can find it in Pittsburgh. They don't really play around too much in cities like New England and Pittsburgh with guys that don't buy into the system. So it's going to be interesting to see what Tomlin does there with him.
Good point. Let's move on to the Central. Another interesting division because the Colts and Titans are pretty evenly matched, I think. Carson Wentz moving to the Colts, I think, is a huge move, and I really think Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, can get him back on track. I think he's got all the tools, and he just needs to get his head straight again and stay healthy. And if he does, the Colts have got a tremendous running game. And not that the Titans don't, obviously, with Henry. But, I've never been a big oh gosh, all of a sudden his name's escaping me. Who's the quarterback for the Titans now? Good, help me out.
Tannehill?
Thank you, Tannehill, Ryan Tannehill. Never been a big fan of his in big moments. So I think this is going to be a toss-up between the Colts and Titans. The Jaguars will, they're going to be building something here. But again, it's a team with 4 or 5 wins is going to be considered a success. And the Texans are just a dumpster fire. And I don't think a winless season is out of play there myself.
Well, the problem with the Titans is I haven't taken that team serious ever since they left Houston. I mean, I like the logo, I like the look, and then they went to Tennessee, and it's for me. It's tough to watch some of their games. I mean, I like Vrabel a lot, the coach and everything, but Tannehill is, you're right. He caught, a string of good luck there in Tennessee. Now you got Julio Jones over there. You got Henry. But I like the Colts. I really do. I like Wentz. I think sometimes in life, in order to move up, you got to move on. He was ridiculed in Philly, and he took it to Indianapolis, reunited with Wright. They got a great offensive line, good running game going, and the Colts are going to be tough. I like the Colts to win the division, but I'll tell you the second team to watch out in this division, and they're going to be a couple of years out, is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because a lot of people think college coaches can't make the transition. And you're right. We saw Nick Saban. He couldn't do it. We've seen that in basketball with Rick Pitino. But I think Urban Meyer has surrounded himself with a lot of, experienced, coaches in the NFL there. I love Trevor Lawrence. It was sad to see that rookie running back didn't go down. But, the Jags got a lot of cap space. They got an owner that'll spend money. Keep your eyes on the Jags. And I've said this before, and I've caught flack. The Jags will get to the Super Bowl before we see the Kansas City Chiefs getting back to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's a big statement right there. I think Chiefs will go back this year, but that's just me. And the Jaguars, I do agree with you. The Jaguars are going to improve quickly. It won't be this year, but Urban Meyer, I think, is better built to handle the NFL than a lot of college coaches that have come along. And I think that you're right. They've got an owner, I think, that will spend some money. And he's got 2 big pieces already in Lawrence and Ettinen, who, although I know he got hurt, I'm not sure what his status is for the season. I don't think he's out for the season, but
he might be out. They're going to play it by ear, but they got a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of money to spend there, so it's going to be a quick fix. And Jacksonville is not the glamour city like you're going to New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, but you can build a nice little niche there. You don't have the outside, deterrence to keep you, doing other things. So focus on football. And I like what they'll do with Urban Meyer there.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be this year. I think it comes to the Titans and the Colts. I don't see any coaches in trouble in this division. I think. Yeah,
Houston's just a complete mess, and the Watson situation is just going to overshadow everything in Houston.
Yeah, but they got a first-year coach, so it's unlikely he's going to take a fall, even if they went winless. But it's a Texans. You don't know what they could do. They could fire the guy just for
exactly, just for wearing the wrong steps into the game.
Yeah, and again, I think it's possible this team doesn't win a game, but we'll see. Let's move out to the West, which, again, should be controlled by the Chiefs. But I think one of the surprise teams in this in the league at least the AFC, is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. I love their quarterback. One of the best breaks they got was the fact that, that doctor who was administering the needle to Tyrod Taylor and punctured his lung was probably not good for Tyrod, but it was really good for the Chargers, and the fact that Herbert got to play sooner than he might have otherwise. And he had a tremendous rookie season. It can only get better from here. The Broncos, I still just don't think they've got a quarterback, and there's too many holes. Vic Fangio is a guy that I can see in trouble this year if they don't make significant progress. And I think Gruden could be in trouble with, I hate to say in Las Vegas, I'll say with the Raiders, if they don't challenge, at least get in the playoffs this year myself. So what are your thoughts there?
Well, I covered the 49ers and Chargers last Sunday, and what I saw is, that stadium is just unbelievable. It looks like a spaceship. $5 billion can buy you a lot of good things. But what I saw is, and the 49er faithful just outdrew those guys like 5-1 there. I thought I was in San Francisco if I closed my eyes. And what I looked at was their schedule. Their second game of the year, the Cowboys come in, the Patriots come in here in Halloween. You got the Browns coming, the Steelers coming, the New York Giants coming. These are big traveling, fan bases, and they're just going to drown out the Charger faithful. It's going to be like a needle in a haystack, and we're not even counting the Chiefs coming to town, the Broncos, the Raiders.
Yeah.
So, Herbert's going to really have to do something. They got the best quarterback, I think, in the city. Nothing to take away from Stafford, but, I think Herbert is going to be the guy that can rally around with. But that's going to be a comparison like trying to compare Clipper championships with Laker championships. Right. It's 0-17. So it's going to be tough for the Chargers. They got some guys that I like there, and Bosa and Eckler and guys like that can really play football. But, their first two games, they go to Washington, they come back home, they play Dallas. It's going to be interesting. As far as the Chiefs go, Andy Reid, I didn't think too kindly of him in Philly, but he's done wonders in Kansas City. But we're going to find out what Patrick Mahomes is all about now. He went to the Super Bowl, he won it, then he lost it. These State Farm guys have had problems, with Aaron Rodgers and, Chris Paul and now we got Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are high on the Chiefs, but I think, losing that, game and getting beat takes a lot out of you, and trying to get back to the dance. It's going to be a tough run with Kansas City. The team I've been high on, and I've been picking them for years to win the division. Now this will be the third year I'm picking them. This is the Las Vegas Raiders. I like Gruden, but stop going to get Mac from Chicago. Chicago's not going to give him back to you. You made a blunder in that trade. That would probably be the one thing that Gruden made a mistake on is letting Mac go. And let the quarterback play there. Stop trying to go get Russell Wilsons and, Rodgers there and everything else. Carr's a good quarterback. Just let him do his thing there. The problem with Vegas is their first two games are going to be tough ones. They get Baltimore at home, and then they got to go to Pittsburgh. So the schedule makers weren't too kind. And as far as the Broncos are concerned, John Elway needs to come out of retirement and probably take over the controls there. He'd be better than any quarterback they have there.
Yeah, you're probably right. And again, I see Fangio in trouble. Do you see Gruden in any trouble if they don't have success?
He's got a 10-year contract there, and that's a lot of money. They're going to ride him out, and his swagger and everything come to the forefront. I think Vegas is going to take a liking to him. Who knows? This guy's, he kind of reminds me of the guy they had down there in Atlanta. That was part of the, oh gosh, it slipped my mind now. I liked him dearly. Glanville. He kind of reminds me of Glanville. Who knows? Gruden could be walking the strip and buying everybody, a breakfast and giving them tokens to play the slot machines.
He's Glanville without the big belt buckle, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I will pick the Chiefs to win this division. I think the Chargers could push them. The big problem with the Chargers, Mark, is the fact that them moving to Los Angeles was probably not the good move for them. Again, the city of San Diego should be up in arms. We talked about earlier about the Bills moving. The city of San Diego supported this team. They couldn't get a new stadium. They moved to Los Angeles, and they're going to play a lot of teams at home this year that really their fans travel really well.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean,
it's going to be
the only ones where you might get in there where you're going to get somebody in there is probably if you're playing a practice game. So, everybody can at least cheer you, but they're going to drown them out, man. I can't believe the fan bases that are becoming coming to SoFi Stadium this year, and with the Clevelands and all these cities. I mean, it's going to be like a home game for these visitors.
What do you see coming out of the AFC to win this whole thing and play in the Super Bowl?
Wow, it'll be in the backyard here in SoFi, but I'll throw it out there, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go on a realm. I think it'll be Tampa and Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's going out on a limb a little bit, but a good call. I've got Tampa Bay, and I think Kansas City is gonna. I think it's gonna be a rematch myself. I would like to see my Patriots surprise, and it's possible if team's gonna come out of nowhere, it might be the New England Patriots. As far as breakout players, my breakout guy was gonna be Dobbins from Baltimore, and now that's up in the air. So if you got a breakout player, you can see.
I like Harris. He's a rookie. I think he's going to be another guy that Pittsburgh is going to get really accustomed to and everything. He's going to fit that system. I'm not going to say he's going to be a Franco Harris, but the kid is definitely going to be better than a Bam Morris.
Yeah, definitely a great draft pick for Pittsburgh to kind of get back to their roots and running the ball a little bit. So I want to bring up one thing before I let you go, because Kenny Gifford did bring up a question while we were talking about the Jaguars, and he thinks, I don't agree with him. I think he said this a few times. Hang on. We got to remember he just got out of Patriots.
Right.
Sorry, he just got out of Facebook jail, too. So.
Yeah. Had a few friends in that.
He says, mark my word. I thought he was talking to you, but he said, mark my word, Trevor Lawrence will be a bust. If I'm wrong, oh well. Well, that's what most pundits do. They say, if I'm wrong, oh well. But they forget about the ever.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I think when you get, out of programs that like Clemson and Alabama, you're mentally prepared to play in the NFL. Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban prepare you well. Now, what you do with it is something else. But I think Trevor Lawrence is a kid that has a lot of respect for where he's come from and everything. He's a big quarterback. He's going to be tough to take down, like a Big Ben out of Pittsburgh. Yeah. And he's a smart quarterback. He really is. I mean, he only lost a couple games at Clemson. He's going to take his lumps at Jacksonville, but. Yeah. These kind of guys, man, when you look at the Mac Jones that was prepared, and you look at the Waddles and, the Smiths that came out of Alabama, these guys are prepared. I think the real concern is these kids that come out of, UCLA and USC out here, they just don't seem to last. I mean, the Sam Darnolds, he'll get a good shot down there in Carolina, but the Sanchez's and all these other guys, what happened to these? This is they weren't prepared, and I think the reason why is, and I'm going to put my finger on this, is I think if you play cream puffs and you beat them up, you're going to get the accolades at that moment. Mm-hmm. But what Alabama and Clemson have done is these guys are playing top-notch guys, man. They're playing universities that. They're bringing it their A game every year. And look what Nick Saban's done and Dabo Sweeney. And Saban's got, Alabama. All the guys they lost, Alabama's, they're projected right now in the number one. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. He's laughing at my Patriot pick, too. Just another Yankee gone wrong. But, I've been very hard on my Yankees, and I have saying they are not built to win the World Series. But I think the Patriots are on the track to returning to somewhat of their glory days, if not all the way this year. So it might take a year.
Well, and that's what it is. That's what makes it up. And the Patriots will get back and, past the Bray era now, and we'll get Mac Jones, and it'll be a good one there. But the one thing I hope doesn't come back to bite New England is letting Sony Michel go.
Well, they're deep. They got a lot of running backs, and I think they'll be fine. And they didn't pick up his option for next year, so the writing was pretty much on the wall there. So that they were going to make a move. Mark, any last thoughts you want to leave us with this Sunday before we let you?
This is the most must-see, must-hear show that's sweeping the country. Hoping my Pirates can do something, salvage this 4-game series with the Cardinals. get back on the winning ways. I don't know what's going on with the Padres. They've been slipping of late. But I still had the Padres and Blue Jays for the World Series. Hopefully the Blue Jays can find a way to get in there. I'm looking forward to talking to you this week. Thursday, you're on the San Francisco show. And, man, I'll be in that video Sunday, one way through hell or high water.
I hope to get out of Alcatraz, so I'll be here as well. So, Mark, thanks for coming in again. You have a great Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bless they have you on this on Sunday mornings, and thanks to all the great listeners and just picking up steam, my friend.
Awesome. Enjoy your day.
You too.
Okay.
Have a blessed one.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Mark. Mark Mancini from Mancini Sports, our new regular on the 10:30 hour. We'll jump around. We'll talk a lot of football probably going forward. Billy, welcome. I didn't get a chance to welcome you in as I was talking to Mark. We did talk about the Jets. Mark thinks the Jets are going to do better than I do. I think, again, as I've said over and over again, as we get ready to wrap it up here, we're over a little bit. But, I think the Jets fans, you can't get too wrapped up in Zach Wilson's numbers or wins and losses this year. You got to look for progress. You got to look to be competitive in games, and you should be happy. That might only translate to 4 wins, but that does not mean you're not making progress. They're building something there in the Meadowlands, and I think they should just be calm. That's all. Whole team sucks. It's good to have Kenny back. I hope you stay out of jail for at least a week or so, Kenny. Guys, thanks for tuning in today. We covered a lot of ground. Your comments are always welcome. We got some real college football starting this week. Join me on the College Football Huddle Wednesday night. We'll watch it later on. We're going to preview all the big games coming up. We'll still do a little bit of conference previews. We'll talk about all the big news, realignment, which I jumped into a little bit today. Don't forget, next week I didn't mention Jeffcoat, former Dallas Cowboy, 2-time Super Bowl winner, will be my guest on Friday. Also going to be hosting a new show here on Northeast Streaming Sports. Looking forward to it, guys. Going to be a great, great Sunday. You guys have a great weekend, remainder of the weekend, and we'll see you next week. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, right here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We will see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, you guys any